Latoria. I am a former trauma specialist, as well as I have worked with children that were in custody of the state for over 2 decades. And I posted a video yesterday in regards to breaking curses from your family, your generational trauma, your generational curses, how to break them, and being a risk taker and stepping up for your family and stopping those curses. I had a comment under the video that said generational curses are not real and that it's a made-up concept. Well, let me first tell you, as a person who has been a trauma specialist and worked with people who I've seen personally, not only in my own family, but in others' families, where there are patterns and behaviors that are passed down from generation to generation. So even though it may be a tough concept for some, it's a real concept for others. Let's talk about intergenerational trauma first. Intergenerational trauma is where a parent or caregiver passes on, again, a negative pattern or a negative behavior to a child. It's where a child learns the concept of family dynamics, emotional intelligence, or even just how to have their environment. It may unconsciously be passed down, meaning, whomever is effective or intentionally or even unconsciously passing on that trauma, but they may or may not know that they're passing down trauma. They may not know they're passing down curses. It's just been a way of life. There's unresolved emotional wounds and unresolved psychological wounds that are passed down to children. And unfortunately, the children think it's normal. Parenting behaviors, that's a generational curse for some, where the parents really don't know how to parent. It could be emotional neglect, too much control, being protective in a way, but it's overprotective to the point they're stunning their child's growth. It may even be abusive behaviors. Children can grow up in emotional environments that aren't stable. That's a generational curse as well. Being raised in a household with unresolved pain and unresolved problems, that can carry on from one generation to the next. There's even epigenetics. Did I say it right? Epigenetics? Yeah. Epigenetics is where there is a cultural influence in which, like, there's slavery, there's Holocaust, there are these collective experiences that a community has, and they pass that trauma on to others, whether it may be fear or uncertainty. That also has perpetuating negative effects as well, whether it's through, again, unresolved emotions, unresolved problematic behaviors. There are families where one may be a PEDO, or they may touch children in inappropriate ways, and the children think that it's normal, and so they continue on touching their children in inappropriate ways. It's a real life thing. Learn behaviors such as how to cope, how to deal with stress. When you're feeling overwhelmed, your children are going to be watching you process these emotions and thinking that you would be one that know more. They're going to follow your footsteps. And if it's not resolved in a healthy way, 9 times out of 10, if your children don't understand that it's not a healthy way to deal with life, they will continue on that process. Scarcity, poverty, those are generational curses. If we don't deal with how we handle finances, how we set up our homes, how we show up at our jobs, again, children watch that and then they process it as if it's normal. So generational curses are very, very real, and it's unfair. But if you don't acknowledge it and you don't know what to look for, you would think that there are no curses. You would think that people just choose that way of life. But unfortunately, everyone doesn't choose negativity. Sometimes they were born into it and they don't know how to get out of it. The truth of the matter is, though, you can break a generational curse, whether it's through seeking out your spirituality, or seeking therapy, or you are seeking a community where you find support in a healthy way. Breaking a generational curse means you are stopping the cycle of passing on a behavior or a pattern to children, to your next lineage offspring, where you stop that and it becomes a generational blessing, because now not only have your generations been healed where you are starting at now, but you are healing the past and you're healing the future. meaning that you can recognize where the problem is at, you can recognize how it started, and you can also control where it stops. It stops with you. And because it stops with you, it doesn't have to continue on through your children to their children. I'm not talking about a curse in a mystical sense or a curse in a sense of someone put voodoo on you. I'm talking about in the sense of how you see life, how you approach life, how you internalize your feelings and push them out into the world. Breaking a generational curse is a deliberate act. It's a deliberate rebellion against what is normal. And so it is real to break a generational curse. And it is possible to break a generational curse. You don't have to continue on yelling, cursing, being angry, being hostile. You don't have to continue on believing that because it was one way, it'll always be that way. You can have a growth mindset. You do not have to be stagnant. You do not have to be limited. You don't. You don't have to sit in it. You can change it today. You can change it whenever you want. But again, it's first by acknowledging the pain. It's acknowledging where the hurt is at. It's acknowledging where it is wrong. And it's acknowledging that just because someone else thought it was normal doesn't mean it's normal. It doesn't have to be real life for you. And they said that there was no real research or any real findings that support that there is generational curses. But as a psychologist, I would like to let you know there is, and it can affect not just a household, but it can affect the whole community. And again, it's not anything mystical, but it's behaviors, it's mindsets, it's emotional wounds, it's anything that is biological that can be inherited. It's absolutely real, but it absolutely can be changed. I just wanted to let people know that just because you may not feel like you've had generational curses or generational trauma, it doesn't mean that it's not real for other people. In the video that I posted, it said it only takes one risk taker in a family to change a family's legacy. It only takes one risk taker to say that we are no longer going to do this where I'm at, and my family will no longer carry on this burden of pain. But again, if you haven't experienced that, don't judge others that have. And I don't want to judge anyone that has or hasn't had trauma. I feel like we all have had life experiences, and our life experience teaches us lessons. And it's up to you to decide if this is your lesson or not. So I don't want to put a burden of generational curses and generational trauma on anyone. But I want to say that if you have experienced any type of generational pain or trauma, that you can absolutely change it. And you can start your healing whenever you're ready. It will take work. It may even take a lot of time. But as long as you're willing and intentional, you can change whatever you want to change. Bye, y'all.